Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today for a short little update on the IHE devices and testing. We'll wait another minute as more join in, but thank you for coming and joining us today. And we will have an opportunity for some questions and answers toward the end in about 20-25 minutes. So if along the way you have some questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll be looking at that and we'll give you an opportunity to ask those questions. So we'll just give it another minute, like I said, and then we'll get started. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Todd Cooper, and I'm here with Kurt Eliason. Kurt, say hi.
Hello.
And we're going to together, between the two of us, give you an update on the IHE devices technical framework, the profiles, the testing that will be available in the IHE-Europe Connectathon in Brussels, March of 2026. We'll look at the established profiles and those that are emerging and the testing opportunities for both of those. So please keep your microphone muted. Like I said, if you have questions during the session, there's a chat box and we'll address those questions towards the end of this. The slides will be available on IHE-Europe Connectathon 2026 webpage. And after the webinar, we will also provide a recording of this in the YouTube channel that you can share with your colleagues and those that you think would be very interested in actively engaging and participating in that. So with no further ado, this is the agenda for today. We will focus on established profiles for enterprise level integration, the IHE patient care devices or PCD profiles you may have heard about for Connectathon testing. Then we'll also look at the emerging profiles for point of care device to device integration, the joint HL7 IHE Gemini device interoperability or SDC standards in the SDPi profiles. So we'll look at those, and then Nicole will give us some registration details toward the end. So with that, let me just set a general orientation here. IHE devices is a device-focused area within IHE. You may have heard of other device domains like radiology or patient care coordination or IT infrastructure. We're focused on devices. And there are three programs, kinds of devices or areas within IHE devices domain. The patient care devices, which is the first one, actually formed 20 years ago in 05. The device point of care interoperability program, device to device plug and trust interoperability, and the personal connected health PCH program. Today, we will be specifically looking at those top two and the testing that will be available come March of next year. Okay, so without any further ado, Kurt, take it.
All right. Hi, I'm Kurt Ellison with ICU Medical, working with infusion pumps for about 19 years now. I am the infusion pump work group lead for IHE devices, a device domain planning committee co-chair, and the IHE board rep for the devices domain. I'm also part of the group that maintains the Connectathon tests for all the PCD profiles. And I've been a participant in the last 12 North American Connectathons. So I've been through this many times.
12. Woo.
Yeah, 12 now. We'll go to the next slide. So the profiles in the PCD program are all based on HL7 version 2. The baseline we use in the program today is version 2.6, but some profiles use elements of 2.8, and the MEM profiles are actually using triggers from HL7 2.9. So we've got a mix of different things going on. The PCD program also uses the IEEE 11073 standards, primarily 10101B, to harmonize nomenclature, enumeration, units of measure to conform to established industry requirements. Output transmissions to endpoint devices are also included in our profiles, but these, of course, are not HL7. For these systems, we use or need a mature standard to conform to. So the PCD program conforms to the Wireless Communication Transport Protocol, or WTCP, as that industry standard for communications with devices outside of HL7. The PCD program also uses profiles from other IHE domains when necessary, such as the consistent time profile from the ITI domain. So, and in the bottom here, we've got some links to some useful resources. So we make use of testing tools provided by the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. The first URL gives you links to all the tools. The main ones used by PCD are the Rosetta Terminology, or RTMMS, which provides a list of all the ref IDs from IEEE 11073, 101B that are used in the messaging. The other link is to a Connectathon test tool, which provides sample messages for each PCD profile, as well as doing validation of user-supplied messages. You can take your message and just paste it into the tool on the web page, and it shows you any errors or warnings that come up related to that message. This tool is also used by the Connectathon monitors to verify messages during the Connectathon. So they take the messages from the tests and they run them through that tool to make sure that they're correctly formed. Next slide, please. So we'll be looking at different profiles for the PCD program. We have device to enterprise communication, alert communication management, waveform support in observations alerts for ACM and DEC, medical equipment management, point of care infusion verification, point of care identity management, and the IPEC, infusion pump event communication profile. And there's a link here on the bottom of the slide that gets you the IHE Devices domain, the technical framework, and all the details about all these profiles are all out there. Next slide. Yeah, okay. So we'll get into a little more detail on some of the profiles in the domain. So DEC is the first profile launched by the PCD program. So we'll start with that one. This one goes back, Tom said, 20 years. The profile is focused on updates of patient vitals information to clinical information systems or other record-keeping systems. We call the different roles within a profile actors, and this profile has three of them. A device observation reporter is the sending system in a transaction. Device observation consumer is the receiving system in a transaction. And you'll see those, the reporter and consumer, showing up in several of the other profiles. DEC also has a device observation filter, which is an optional component to provide the ability to filter floods of information that may be delivered from devices. In this profile, a device has an observation of a patient vitals that needs to be put into a patient's medical record for use in decision-making or research. This profile provides a common way of getting that information from any device to one or many storage applications that would need to consume it. This enables devices or device systems to efficiently share vital information about the patient for records keeping. In each of the PCD profiles, there's a series of transactions used. Most of the PCD program profile transactions start with the letters PCD, followed by a number to associate their purpose. So here in the diagram, you'll see an instance of PCD01 is the source message, while PCD02, coming back from the consumer, is the response to that message. In the Connectathon's Gazelle test repository, we have 9 tests defined for the DEC profile. There's a basic one-on-one test between a reporter and consumer, and there's a test with multiple reporters to multiple consumers. And those 2 tests are required for all participants. The others are optional based on the type of device that you have. Next. So the next profile is ACM, or Alert Communication Management. So if a device has an alert that needs to be addressed, either clinical or technical, this is the profile that's used. It includes any alerts that require notifications from the patient care device, including patient-level alarms that need to be delivered immediately to clinicians, or workflow step notifications or advisory events about the device condition. This profile has three primary actors. The alert reporter detects and synthesizes and generates a notification based on patient conditions. The alert manager in the middle there, which receives the alert from the AR actor in near real time, then filters and directs the notification based on the content of the message. The AM uses its own configuration or information extracted from the message from the AR to send, to figure out where to send it. So it decides which staff roles or groups or individuals should receive the notice, and then it tracks the responses and escalations and follow-ups. The third one, the alert communicator, or AC on the right, is responsible for receiving and displaying the notification of the event to the recipient while providing a means of response for workflow purposes. Workflow responses from clinicians can be passed back to the AM actor for steps to take place on that based on that feedback, and then that can also be sent back to the AR actor as well if required. There's a fourth actor that can be implemented. It's called an alert consumer, or ACON in this case. It's not on the diagram, but it's much like the alert manager, except that it doesn't forward the alerts to any other systems. It just receives them and processes them itself. Within this profile, the PCDO4 is the alert source message, and it's generated by the AR. When the AM receives the PCDO4, it does its filtering, decides where to route that to, and then sends it on. And that is the PCDO6 message that goes to the AC actor. And that ends up on the devices that the clinicians carry. The AC actor can then provide status back to the AM, that's the PCDO7. And then from an optional perspective, if a PCDO7 message is passed to the AM can then generate a PCDO5 response back to the AR. And this allows for response status updates all the way back to the originating system if needed for reporting or logging. So while the PCDO5 is a response to the AR, it does not eliminate the need for the HL7 ACK message, but rather provides the ability to update the source system with an ongoing alert. So for ACM, this one has the most tests of all our profiles. There are 16 tests defined for the ACM profile. 4 of them are required tests. There's a basic test between the AR and the AM. There's tests for either AM or AC being unavailable, as well as a test with multiple ARs going to an AM and multiple ACs. It's an end-to-end test with a large system. There's also a set of these tests for the alert consumer, which is between the alert manager and the consumer. Next slide. So with many devices, such as physiological monitors and ventilators, waveform data can be included as part of the day-to-day process. So the waveform content module provides a standard for inclusion of that data within both the DEC and the ACM profiles that we just talked about. This can be sent in 2 forms, either a live streaming waveform that can be provided that constantly updates a receiving system, or the content can be recorded into a waveform snippet for inclusion in a snapshot of the patient waveform in the outgoing alert with the PCO4 notification. So there's no separate tests for ACM on its own, but both the ACM and the DEC profiles have optional tests that include WCM, the waveforms, in the messages, so you can test those as part of those other profiles that use this. Next one, please. So in the PCD program, we look to improve the safety of infusion order processing. Many people are aware of the 5 rights of medication administration. This is one of the recommendations to reduce medication errors and harm, and includes the right patient, the right medication, the right dose, time, and the right route for that medication. With infusion order processing using point of care infusion verification, PIV, we had a 6th right, that is the right devices being used to administer the medication. The information is passed for confirmation that the device is programmed correctly for the order. At the Connectathon, you'll find 5 tests for PIV, covering large volume syringe or PCA pumps. Depending on which pump type you've got, there's 3 required tests. So you'd pick the right set, whether you're a PCA pump or a large volume syringe, and complete those tests. Next one, the infusion pump event communication profile. It's also referred to as IPAC commonly. This is basically a specialization of the DEC profile for infusion pumps. So the messages look very much like DEC messages. It's an important partner to the PIV profile and completes the loop by providing the EMR with infusion start messages so they can verify that what actually started on the pump matched what was ordered. It also includes events for infusion stop, program cleared, communication status, etc. And the main difference between this one and DEC is that there are events. This is an event-based message, whereas DEC is a periodic message. Within the Connectathon in Gazelle, there are 7 IPEC tests defined. There's a basic test that is required for all devices, all pumps, and the other 6 are optional based on either the pump type or supported features. Doing things like piggyback infusions or channel relay or PCA type pumps. And depending on which pump type you've got, you may have to do more tests than just the one basic one. But everybody has to do the one basic one. Next profile. So this one, point of care identity management, PSIM, is our newest profile. It provides a device patient association source of truth. It ensures accuracy and improves efficiency by having the patient and location information stamped onto each device data message. Many devices don't provide UI implementations for selecting patients on the device, and clinicians don't want to or don't have time to search for and select patients on all the different device displays. So this interoperable interface facilitates plug-and-play system participation. The PSIM trial implementation is currently version 2.2. The profile has been tested at 3 Connectathons starting in 2022. And one of the things that we do at Connectathons, in addition to testing implementations of profiles, is testing profiles. So after our first Connectathon, this profile went through a major revision to revision 2.1 based on what we had learned at the Connectathon and different vendors trying to implement it as a trial implementation. So we're currently at 2.2, and it's been tested a few times. This one has 5 different required tests depending on which actor you are. So if you're a manager, you participate in all 5 tests. If you're a reporter, there's 4 that you'd have to do. And if you're a consumer, there's 3 tests that would be required. Next one. So moving from the patient relationship to a focus on the connected devices, we have our last profile for today, the medical equipment management profile, or MEM. MEM covers 2 areas, including device management communication and location services. So MEM is focused on the management and health of the devices that we're using to care for the patients. These profiles produce information like device status, like whether charging, the charge level, the location, or device availability. Combining all the data elements this profile provides, we can consistently automate answers for some common questions, like where can I find an available device? What is my idle rate for devices, and how much utilization of my devices is occurring? Or do I need more inventory, or do I have surplus? Things like that. Availability of device of data drives clinical efficiencies, allowing staff to quickly find the devices they need for patients and assist with management of loss prevention. Also, with MEM-LS in use, accurate location information can be added to outgoing ACM alerts for devices, so you know exactly where that device is when the alert happens. With some pumps, patients are up and moving around. They may not always be in their assigned location in their room. They may be down the hall or something. And with MEM-LS, you can tell exactly where that device is when the alarm happens. Both the MEM-LS and MEM-DMC have 3 required tests that you'd have to complete to pass. That is it for the PCD program slide. Well, Todd, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Kurt. And again, as I said at the beginning, this will be part of the Connectathon testing for the formal testing part. And how much of this we test really depends on who participates. So as Nicole will show you later, showing intent, registering soon will be very important. Let me tell you about the emerging part, which is device-to-device plug and trust communication using SDC for a plugathon track. So with that, this is a demonstration that was at the HIMSS show earlier this year. This shows SDC connectivity between Philips physiologic monitor, B-Bron infusion pump, and a Draeger ventilator showing it as silent ICU. But this is emerging, but it's real. This is in the commercial space. So that's why I showed you that. And oh, by the way, again on that, notice that just last week, I think the European Society for Intensive Care Medicine show had two similar kinds of demonstrations. So really important. When you look at the integration of devices across an enterprise, oftentimes you have this enterprise gateway. So that's what we've been talking about with the IHE DEC and ACM, PCIM, medical equipment management, all of those, the infusion pump related profiles, all of those do integration at the enterprise level. But what about the actual devices to themselves and how you can get device-to-device plug and trust interoperability? So we have these new profiles that we've defined, service-oriented device point-of-care interoperability profiles. They use the SDC standards, which are IEEE and then also ISO and SIN standard 11073 for service-oriented device connectivity. That's what SDC in this context means for plug and trust, device-to-device interoperability. But what we have done is we have also integrated the gateways within those specs to DEC and ACM for enterprise integration from the point of care out, as well as we have a gateway for HL7 So we're looking at these future parts. So within this family of profiles, we have support for all of that. This is where you can find it, profiles.ihe.net/dev/SDPi. And we have a new 2.2 version coming up. I think maybe even tomorrow it'll get posted. So this is what it looks like. It's all HTML. You can go online and browse it. There are 4 profiles within SDPi, service-oriented device, plug and trust interoperability. There's a basic connectivity one. So how do you discover and secure and establish the device connectivity? And then 3 specific areas, device information reporting, alerting, as well as external control. And as you can see from the bottom part of this, this is well integrated with both HL7 as well as the IHE profiles for DEC, ACM, and others, as well as the IEEE SDC core standards for device-to-device plug and trust interoperability. So 4 profiles within this family, well integrated with everything that's been done before this. So we have had our first plug-a-thon back in the beginning of the pandemic, October of 2020. Yep, that's a real picture of the guys. We just finished in October 21st, October 21, the 21st plug-a-thon. We have them every 2 or 3 months, virtual or hybrid. And so this has been a very successful program for evolving both the capability implementation community for implementing it, as well as evolving the specs and the standards. And that continues to evolve. So these will continue to go on. Interoperability testing and more formal Connectathon, IHE Connectathons will directly learn from these plug-a-thon history here. And now we are actually transitioning from plug-a-thons to Connectathon testing. So earlier this year in Toronto at the IHE North America Connectathon, we started to work with Gazelle and getting all of those parts, the Gazelle master model, updated with the SDPi actors transactions, getting some first test cases in there. Then we in Vienna in the IHE European Connectathon last September or last June, we continue that update. Got a whole lot more in there for the actors, transactions, and options. We actually developed some initial test case definitions and approach for how we can develop those and integrate those seamlessly into Gazelle. And we started a test tool chain for SDC that we'll be able to use at Connectathons. It was very, very foundational. And we actually got our first test executed with those pieces put in place. So coming up in Brussels, March of next year, we'll have an SDPi plug-a-thon track. The objectives is to achieve a dry run for an SDPi IHE Connectathon testing, maybe in October in North America, later in 2026. So that is the objective. What does that require? Well, finalizing the first core set of test cases and plans. as well as finalizing a tool chain that's well integrated with Gazelle, work that is ongoing. And then maybe even as a stretch goal, doing SDPi gateway testing. How can we not only enable standards-based device-to-device plug and trust interoperability, but also then track maybe some metrics like a heart rate that goes from the device through the gateway, maybe into a PCD01 message for DEC into your EHR or some other enterprise application. So that is the stretch goal for that. So in March, we're really looking for those who are interested in finalizing and getting those parts put together. Just a little bit about the Gemini project. This was actually started in early 2020, joint between IHE and HL7. The specification that you saw is that feature spec there. We published the last one in May. Like I said, we're about to publish, or we published it in May, or we're about to publish another one, a 2.2, within a week or so here. We also released it in October 2025. We're looking for an HL7 first edition published, hopefully in December. So that's in the works. And the last thing I'll say is we also have a HL7 Devices Accelerator program that's forming that will actually look at devices across all of those programs. So all the devices everywhere in everyone, but it's an accelerator program for an implementation community to take this forward. That will be stewarding the Gemini MDI, Medical Device Interoperability Program, within that accelerator. And it's an implementation community that will include integrated testing in that transition from plugathons to connectathons to a conformity assessment program. Founding members are onboarding now. Some have completed that onboarding and others are finalizing that process. And that's the transition as we go forward here in this plug and trust work. Everything you have, all that information on this is at the Devices Accelerator home. There's a QR code. It'll be when you get all of these slides later on. And right now, Kurt and I will be available for some Q&A, but I think first I'd like to go forward and Nicole, let you speak to the registration details and we can come back to the Q&A.
Thank you, Todd. Can you go to the next slide, please? So, as already said, the next 2026 IHE-EU Connectathon will be from Monday 23rd of March to Friday 27th of March in Brussels at the IHE, and it will be the 25th anniversary. Next slide, please. So, the registration is open. It closed the 14th of November, so please don't miss this unique opportunity to test. And you have to go and you have to click to this link. You can find it also in the chat. Please keep in mind that this is for the Connectathon and Plugathon registration will open soon. So please register. So thank you, Todd.
All right. And with that, Kurt and I are available, as well as Nicole and Angel. Here are their email addresses if you want to contact them. And I think the last slide here, oh, we have more.
Yes, we have one slide for remember to join us on Zulip if you need support or if you want to know the news, there will be there. So this is just a reminder.
All right. So we're looking forward to seeing you in Brussels. And so with that, if anyone has any questions for Kurt or myself, feel free to put them in the chat or we'll stay on for a few minutes to answer them. But thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing some of you in March in Brussels. All right. Any questions? And unmute if you have a question.
For now, no questions in the chat.
Okay. Well, thank you all very, very much. And you'll be able to get a hold of us and let us know, especially Kurt, if you have any specific questions about profiles that'll be tested in the Connectathon and what that involves.
And thank you, Todd and Kurt, for being there as speakers, really.
Thank you.